Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have our double breakdown for both the Cardia Magica as well as the PPG regionals that happened in person this weekend. Two large events here in North America, and essentially it's the last weekend of OP06, at least the base version of it, since StarDeck 13 is going to be legal starting next week, and then you also have EBO1 coming out in about a week and a half. So we kind of just have like these little mini formats leading up to OP07, which not only is going to be our like large new set coming out, but also just the implementation of the new restriction list as well. So we're going to go over both these events real quick. If you guys enjoy these videos, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe. It does mean a lot. And then also, if you guys want to check out any of these deck lists, they're all on my website, Eggman Events, which you can check out in the description below. But starting off for these events, again, we do have the Carta Magica one, 2-day event, 10-16 players with 10 rounds of Swiss best of 1 into a top 32 cut best of 3. And then also for the PPG one, it is a 1-day event, 5-12 players with 9 rounds of best of 1. So Sakazuki was the winner for both of these events, and honestly it had a really strong showing. You'll even see we don't currently have the PPG leader breakdown, but based off the Carta Magica one, not a lot of people were playing the Sakazuki, but it was the best conversion into that top 32 cut, which I found interesting. And then if you look at the top 4, it's just in a really good spot. So generally speaking, and this is just a generalization, but Sakazuki tends to do better if it's able to get top cut. I think best of 3, the deck is more consistent throughout 3 games. Sometimes best of 1, you do get a little high rolled or low rolled, and just because of that, it's the consistency isn't there. But again, when you look at these best of 3s, Sakazuki's generally doing a little bit better comparatively to just kind of a Swiss round for that. So anyways, going over kind of the leaders that we had for both of these events. For the Carta Magica one, we did have 10 Sakazuki, 9 Moria, 8 Katakuri, 2 Reiju, 1 Yamato, 1 Nami, and 1 Enel. And then for the PPG event, we did have 7 Sakazukis, 3 Katakuris, 2 Newgates, 2 Morias, and 2 Reijus as well. So honestly, a lot of what this is looking like is my most recent version of like a tier list, where it's pretty obviously that the Sakazuki and the Katakuri and Moria are in a pretty good split here. But then we have like a couple of like hopefuls. I think Reiju's the 4th best deck in this format in my own mind, and the fact that it was the only the 4th copy of a leader that topped in both events, since Newgate only topped on the PPG event, and then these other 3 of Yamato, Enel, and Nami were only on the Carta Magica side. So still kind of cementing that idea in my mind. I think a lot of these decks are still viable, but it's really understood that these 3 are still the bully for it. And then also we do know, it's really interesting to see just how kind of low that Gecko Moria fell for the PPG event, only getting 2 spots for the top 16, which is a little bit low from what it's expecting. Usually like 3 to 4 for these previous ones, especially since it's been winning a lot of events as well. So anyways, that's kind of the overview for both these events. We're going to go over the individual leaders and their topping deck list for each one comparatively between the events. We're going to choose like the top placing list for each event combined, if that makes sense. So we're going to start off with our Sakazuki players. So we have both their winning lists. We have Dylan's list right here, as well as Kunal's list here, and you're going to see that they're pretty similar for this one. I think that it's been shown that the Marineford or Navy HQ build's been doing pretty good, and honestly, based on what I remember from my data that I've been looking through and just inputting these deck lists, it seems to be doing better again in like this best of 3, where you're able to like the consistency is just a little bit better, being able to see this more often, because you only really need to see it once and set it up. It just helps you with a lot of removal in a lot of matchups, especially the Gecko Moria one. Outside of that, these deck lists are pretty dang similar in a lot of ways. Just some minor changes of ratios of like Borsalinos and Rob Lucci's, and not much more difference from there. So I think it's pretty understood that most of the Sakazuki builds are known. There's not a lot of variance that's allowed just based on the cards that you quote unquote have to run in these decks, and it's still just in a really good spot. So I don't have much more to say, but congratulations to both Dylan and Kunal for their finishes there. The next up we have Gecko Moria, and this is Jim Dudex. Shouts to Jim from Arizona as well, and our local scene here. Only Gecko Moria for the PPG event to go X1 for this event. Doing this build, we have the Rebecca and Hina, which I think is at this point like a little bit more of the unpopular build. The fact that you can't use like Gecko Moria to get Rebecca to be able to and then on the same turn get removal because you don't have like a 2-cost Houndblaze or Ama to pair up with the Gecko Rebecca. Does mean like it's a little bit worse, but Rebecca by itself to be able to get like a 2k if you need it, to be able to get a Hina out of your trash, to be able to get the cost reduction that you need for like your Absalom. I think that's a really, really strong combo for that sense, and can help the consistency of the deck a little bit and help your removals a little bit too. But I don't think that's the only way to play it, but just like this tiny 2 cost is there. Also Hina, I do like if we end up going second on 6 Dawn, we can play Hina for 3, and then we can also play Absalom from our trash with our leader effect. Being able to set up 2 5k bodies pretty quickly, as well as removing anything that can get KO'd that your opponent played on that pass turn on 5 Dawn is additionally, I think, very strong too. So I kind of a little bit more partial to the Rebecca build, but I don't think it's the only way for this one. But I do think it's a big achievement to Jim for their top 8 with this one. And then going over to the Carta event, we did have 3 other builds, and when I say 3, I mean only 2, because these 2 from Anthony and Micah are the same, but just more again the standard version. Gecko Moria, you have to run so much of your Through the Bark Pirates package that you don't have a lot of room for anything else, which is fine because a lot of those cards are good anyways. And then we also do have Aiden's build right here, who had the swag copy of Cerberus. It's a 2-drop that we can play from our trash if we really need a blocker, which is helpful, especially since you can do something where you can play Cerberus out from your trash, and then after that you can play Sabo to give it protection, which means that it doesn't matter that it's a 2-cost body. Generically, it's just very strong that you get this protection. Obviously against Sakazuki they can still bomb deck it, and obviously against Katakuri they can still get the rest with the 200 million volts, but not too bad to just have like an extra copy there to help you out with that. But everything else, I think Moria, again, it's pretty, your deck list is so tight on space, you don't really have room for anything else, but again, you don't really mind that either. So congratulations again to all of our Gecko Moria players, and for specifically also Aiden, Anthony, and Micah for their builds there. Next up, we have our Katakuris. So we have Michael's version here of Katakuri, which I think is like the more quote-unquote standard version of it. Nothing too outrageous with your ratios or your card choices. I do like running the Nami. I know it's a bit of a tech ad for Katakuri specifically compared to something like Yamato, but it's good. We're playing a little bit more blockers than usual, having 2 copies of Brule as well as 4 copies of Sanji, but they are, again, very strong. And there's a lot of situations where these can just win you the game by being one of your last life, which is really helpful, especially in Sanji's case, where it can be a blocker, but also can represent another attack next turn, which is very good. And then we do have like the 7-drop Linlin, we have the 8-drop Katakuri, 1 copy of this guy, and then our Linlin as well as our Sky Island event package, which all of these cards are obnoxious. All of them are very good in their own situations and can just win you the game, or just put a lot of pressure in a lot of ways. So I don't have much more to say about Michael's build here, but then we also do have our other builds. So this is Frank, who was able to get a top 8 finish, an X1 finish in the PPG event. This one's a little bit more, I would say, aggressive and atypical with a couple of the choices. So Kikunojo is a good choice, but we're only running 3 of it because we're also running 2 copies of the Neko. Neko, I'd say, is less powerful of a card, but is nicer because it is a 1k, so it's not as stuck in hand as Kikunojo is, tends to be throughout the game. We also do happen to have 2 copies of Enel, which this card is so good. We do have like the 5/7 ace coming out of the Star Deck 13, which is a little bit better. It's just like an aggressive target for this, but Enel is also getting a good amount of cards from the expansion booster, and being able to play this card out of your trash with the new event is tempting for 2. Maybe not in this deck specifically, but I think this card is still in a good spot for yellow. So other than that, we have our 2 Linlin, our 1 Katakuri, and 4 of the Linlin, an extra copy of the 0-cost event, which I'm a big fan of that card, especially when we have so many cards that can't be countered, with us having a bit of a higher end for this one. So we do still have our blockers, 2 Brule and 2 Sanji, so not as much, but some, since we do have to find room for some of the other tech ads that we added. So yeah, this one's a little bit more personalized, a little bit more unique as well, but definitely still powerful. And congratulations to Frank for their finish with this one. Next up, we have some of our singletons. So we have our top 4 Yamato from the Card of Magic event. This is Christian's list of it here. And this is like the first time in a minute that I've seen that the Fortress build of Yamato do this well. And arguably probably one of the best finishes for Fortress Yamato in this this format, and I do think it can be a deck that benefits from best of 3 as well. But I've been seeing a lot of different builds from this. Most of the Yamatos I've been seeing are more of the yellow kind of aggressive end than the green side, but there are some great matchups and interactions to get with this. Being able to get all the resting with our sugars here, as well as our Ezos being just means that we're a little bit obnoxious to deal with. Most builds that I've been seeing though, Fortress have been ditching the 10-drop Doepp just because it's really hard to get like peak advantage with this card, because 10 is a lot of Dawn for this deck to go for. We don't really have ways to combo with it. The only combo we really get is being able to play 10-drop Doepp, and then if we have 8-drop Kid already on the board, we can use our leader effect to put 2 Dawn underneath our 8-drop Kid, meaning that it can't, they can get the redirect, or they can only attack into the 8-drop. But outside of that, it's really tricky to get Doepp established, and especially since we don't have any like free resting with our leader or any kind of our cards that exist already. But other than that, I think the if you're able to set that up, or if your opponent doesn't have a good way to get rid of useless Captain Kid, which sometimes I can see Sakazuki, if they're playing more of the stage build, they have a hard time if they don't have like their Hinas to back them up. Like 8 costs is just means that they have to still get some resources to remove it. And also the 2-drop Don Quixote Rosinante is able to help protect it from anything that's not bottom decking. So Gecko Moria has a bit of a hard time if you already have the Rosinante out for sure. But then Sakazuki can kind of always find a way. But it's cool to see Yamato do this well, especially a more green leaning build. And I think it's a fantastic finish. So congratulations to Christian for their finish there. And then next up we have our 2 Newgates. So these are both from the PPG event. We have Brandon and Evan's build of them here. They got 4th and 5th place, I believe. They're right next to each other. 4th and 5th, so I did want to just go over both these lists at the same time, but they're very similar. As you can see, the only real difference is we do have the build here from Brandon, running 2 of the 6-drop Sanji from Star Deck 10, which gets rushed as long as your opponent has a character with 5k power, which is pretty easy, especially by 6 Dawn for our opponent to have that established already. And then for the build from Evan, we kind of swapped that for an extra copy of sorry, we put the 1-drop swag copy of Sanji for this one, and that's like the big difference. We also had okay, we did have a second copy of Bad Manners Kick Course as well, so that's like the only difference. They're very similar in a lot of ways. I think this is a meta that really depends on our blockers to protect us, and so Luffy being able to get around them is still a game winner in a lot of scenarios, I think. And 9-drop Newgate, I don't think it's as powerful as it has been, but if you're able to establish it and keep it around, it gets a lot of great advantage for you there too. The removal potential is there, and I think it's strong. And like Ace being able to be like so good in this deck, being able to be a 7k rush, being able to help remove cards by giving them -3, just to attack into it, I think that's good. And there's a lot of decks, like specifically Sakazuki, where I think the aggressive pressure from this deck is very strong. And if you have a well-timed Monkey D. Luffy, they just generally have too many bricks in their hand, or they're too dependent on their blockers, that you're able to kind of sneak a win on that one too. So I've been playing like a lot of like yellow red Sabo as well, and Luffy can find a way and get that win a lot on Sakazuki if they're not ready for it. And it's been a really, really strong finisher, even now, like a year plus later since this card has been released. So I don't have much more to say. Congratulations to Brandon and Evan for their finishes with Newgate this weekend. And the next up we have our Reijus. So we have Dawson with their top 8 for Card of Magic, as well as Nicholas with the back-to-back top. He played Reiju this past, the weekend before in Arlington, and is able to get a finish on that one. So really cool to see the back-to-back on his end there. I would say his list is, again, probably more of like a standard build, a little bit of a tech-filled one in the sense that we do only play 3 of the Niji instead of like the 4s of each of them. I will say of the Vinsmokes, it's the second worst one, with the Yonji being the worst one. So I understand doing a 3-3 for these. You pretty much need your 4s of each G's and Reiju, but Other than that, I think being able to run 4 copies of Queen is a really good choice for it, and helps you out there being able to have a blocker, especially when you're missing the Yonji. And then we also do have, and then just kind of the standard stuff, putting just can wreck some decks if they're not playing around it. And then again, we do have Dawson's version of it here. And a lot of like interesting one-ofs and just very, very specific ratios. We do see a lot of the similar cards. You kind of have to play Vinsmoke pretty specifically on deck building. But we have like 1 copy of Cosette, which is a blocker in a lot of situations. We do have Charlotte Pudding at 1 copies. We have a Khalifa for some rotation of cards. And then also 1 copy of Judge, which is a little surprising. As most people just say play 2 of this card and leave it be. There's a lot of matchups that you kind of need to see this just to kind of get the tempo back or the value back for it, and without finding it, you're really behind if you do get into that kind of mid-late game. So I do like running 2 of it, but 1 seemed to be enough and get it there. So honestly, I really like Reiju. I think as Star Deck 10 Law becomes more and more common in the next couple weeks, this deck's going to be indirectly hurt because of that, because it's just unfortunately a really bad matchup based on how Dawn works. But I think in general the deck is still very good, very fun, and it's just cool to see it still topping this late into the meta too. So I don't have much more to say, but congratulations to Dawson and Nicholas for their finishes there. And then we do have our 2 more singletons. We have Nami and both these are from the card event, but we have Nami from Mike for the Cartamagica event. This one's a little spicy. This is probably a spicier build of Nami that I've seen in a minute. We do have 2 copies of the 7-cost Crocodile from set 1. It's a super rare. It's a 1k counter, which is pretty surprising for just such a late game card to have a counter like this, but it has Banish and also Dawn ×1. Blue event cards in your hand cost 1 less to play. So I'm not sure why we're running this. I'd be very surprised to know how frequently this hit the board over the weekend. But the idea that this can prevent, like, or reduce the cost of your events is really kind. And then also the fact that it's banished, so in case you need to be, I guess, aggressive. I don't know. It seems like an interesting choice, and like I see like why you would, but it seems a bit expensive and easy to remove regardless. But you still got the work done, so I think that's really, really impressive. So, and it's a top 8 finish with this build too, which is really surprising. So maybe, yeah, it's really cool. I don't really have much more to say, but everything else is generally what we've been seeing for Nami. We have just so many events that trigger out of life that help us draw cards. We do have our newest card, White Snake, which helps us not only draw cards but get like the plus 1k, so we're a 6k leader, which helps us in some matchups. And yeah, if we're aggressive enough, we're in a good spot. So, or aggressively drawing cards, I guess we're in a good spot. So again, not much more to say, but congratulations to Mike for their finish there. And then lastly, we do have Marcel with their top 32 with Enel. And honestly, it's been a bit surprising to see how much Enel's dropped off from OP05 to OP06. I think it's going to see a little bit of resurgence in OP or EB01 meta, since we do get some new cards. And then especially in OP07, I know a lot of people have been playing that in Japan right now, especially with the restrictions in place with Sakazuki and Great Eruption. You do lose reject in Enel, but you don't really care. It's just been such a good card. You just have so many other cards you can run. I think you're still in a good spot. So we do have like our general package of kind of more of the rush side. We do have like 4 of the 7-drop Enels. We do have 3 of the Katakuri 8-drops, and then 4 of the Yamato. You pretty much have to run 4 of this card. It's such an important card for us being able to heal and get some removal in this, especially since it heals at 1, which we're really good at. And we also have our new package of like Onami, Hiyori, Kikonojo's in a good spot, and then 1 copy of Momosuke, which helps us get just not only is it a blocker, but helps us put cards into our life as well. So you can do like the 2-cost Hiyori, put a like Shirahoshi in life, and then Momo it back into your life. So you heal 1, put Shirahoshi in your life. So that's a pretty nice combo for you there. And then you can also have some like emergency targets, such as like the 4-drop Kikonojo, which plays out for free again, which is not too bad. Or Yamato, which it stinks that you have to put this card back into your life, but if you do and they hit it out of your life, you get to play it again, which means that you get that additional heal, which is really cool. So I don't have much more to say. I think the deck is a little bit less strong, I think, in this meta. It's going to be interesting to see how much it's bounced back next month with EB01 And then I think with 10 drop A's coming in OP07, the deck's going to be very, very viable again too. So don't have much more to say, but congratulations to Marcel for their finish. And that's going to be it for this video. We did kind of go a little bit fast, but we are pretty deep in this meta. I did just want to kind of go over it real quick and just show you guys some of my thoughts on some of the decks that topped and just kind of everything else. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you very much to Cardomagica and PPG for running the events and for the deck list as well. And I'm looking forward to what we're seeing in Star Deck 13 starting next week, as well as EBO1 the month afterwards. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.